request?
Oh, again. Oh, I thought. No, I already accepted.
No, sir, I'm not connected with your desk ID.
It's not showing me that window. I'm not able to see. Can you just send it again?
I'm sending you the list again. Sir, can you confirm the number ID? Like it's
Yeah.
353
Yeah.
263
263 660.
I think you're live. Sir, you're live. You're live. Sir, you're live. Hello, Gokhale,
Yeah.
sir.
Yeah. Am I
You're
live?
live. You're live. I can see you on the screen.
Wait.
Sir, can you confirm the number ID?
Hi. Hello, everyone.
Sir, you're right. And everything is good. Carry on.
Okay. So should I go out of this call?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Thank you. Hi, guys. I hope I'm really sorry for the technical error. There was some technical issue. Of course, our efficient technical team did the best to overcome the same. Now, just to reconfirm, I just want to know whether I am visible and audible. Let me check in the chat. If you can mention, that will be really helpful for me. Yeah, I guess yes. Hi, Pratik. I hope, Pratik, I am visible and audible as well. Would really appreciate if any one of you can confirm this, so that we can actually start the class, the session. Great. Thanks, Geeta. Rohan. Hi. Rohan. Okay. Great. I'm extremely sorry for the inconvenience caused to all of you due to the small technical error. Okay, so without wasting the time, now let's go back on our decided program. Since Team India, after getting the gold medal, of course tied with the strong Russian team, now Unacademy, we have decided to discuss or analyze all the games which our 12-member team actually played and which gave us the gold medal. I mean, itna to banta hai unke liye. It's such a fantastic games with young. So cheers to Ampi. Now, I'll be showing you the game, analyzing the game which Nihal won with white against Igor Janik. Okay, Nihal was white, started with his d4. That's a queen move, queen pawn. Okay, so d4, knight f6, c4, e6, knight f3. Okay, so knight f3. So the knight f3 opening might go in Bogo Indian. Just a small brief. If black plays bishop b4, it will be known as a Bogo Indian defense. Okay, so he didn't play bishop b4. If b6 would turn in a Queen's Indian defense. So that's what actually happened in the game. Igor Janik played b6. Nihal went with the setup based on the Catalan system. That's g3, bishop b7, bishop g2, c5, d5. Quite a sharp line. White definitely clears his intention that he won't be going with a slight edge or positions tending to equality or little more edge. Nihal has cleared that he will be going with the sharp lines, sharp position on the board. So d5, e into d5, c into d5, when you look at this d5, definitely white has sacrificed a pawn. For the time being, it's not the permanent pawn sacrifice, because the bishop on g2, particularly known as a Catalan bishop, is really strong in this positions. He played ng5, taking the advantage of the pin of the d5 pawn, what he is planning to do now. Okay, so knight g5, h6, knight h3. The idea is to get the knight to f4 as well and get the piece on the d5. So knight h3. Black is trying his best so that white doesn't get the control of the d5 square with any of his piece. Because if white captures c into d5, the position will get transposed to the Benoni defense, which is quite a standard one. But if white is able to keep the outpost on d5 with either of his pieces, preferably which opponent should not be able to move, then that will be really good advantageous for white. So here black played b5, is challenging the c4, practically tempting white to capture c into d5 or c into b5, any of the. But c into b5 would be really not good for white, because d5 and c5, the pawns would be really strong. Black will definitely get a sufficient counterplay. So b5, knight c3. After knight c3, if black plays b4, anyway white is going to capture knight into d5. So with this, now we can definitely find out that white, thus Nihal, is intending to get the piece on a d5. Knight c3, b into c4, knight f4, a fantastic move, taking the absolute control on the d5. Even though at present Nihal has sacrificed 2 pawns, but 1 pawn anyway he is getting by force. He'll be getting the d5 pawn. So nf4, bishop e7. Okay, can anyone suggest me some move here? Which knight should capture the d5 pawn? The knight on c3 or knight on f4, or with the bishop on g2? What do you think? Anyone? Rohan, Gurpinderjeet? Anyone? Pratik was there. I don't know, because initially he was there, but due to connection he might have gone. Anyone? Okay, I think the best move here was knight f into d5. White is threatening knight into f6 check and capture the b7 bishop. That's quite a simple threat. Bishop into d5, knight into d5, knight c6. Black is trying to close the h1 a8 diagonal, particularly for the g2 bishop, is trying to minimize the activity of the bishop and getting the knight towards center. It's a proper developing move. White went on with castles. Now Nihal starts putting the pressure on the black diagonal as well with bishop f4. The advantages in playing bishop f4 is, one thing, he is controlling the b8 square for the rook. So black cannot take the control of the b file right away. So the b2 pawn, for the time being, black is not able to attack. So now, and bishop f4 has cleared the path for the rook on a1 to come on c1, so that he will attack the c4 pawn on the weaknesses of black's game. So bishop f4. Hi Rishabh. So bishop f4, knight into d5. A quite interesting move is he played queen into d5. Bishop into d5 is also interesting, but queen into d5, with this move, I think Nihal is just idea is rook f d1 and go for the d7 pawn. c4 pawn is anyway hanging, so capturing the c4 pawn won't be that major task for white. But if he gets the d7 pawn, the bishop on g2 and bishop on f4 would be controlling the long diagonals and will be tough for black. So queen d5, rook c8, queen into c4, might be rook f d1, but he may get knight d4. So anyway, we have to capture the c4. He went on with his own idea of capturing c4, bishop f6. Bishop f6 is not that good move right now. Black is going after b2 pawn, but till the d6 square is under white's control, it was risky to play bishop f6. Nihal took the advantage right away by playing bishop d6. If he plays bishop e7, white can play rook f d1 and total control on the d file. It will be tough decision for black to take back the bishop. So for bishop d6, he played rook e8. I think he missed out some tactics. Or after rook e8, white can go in a advantageous position, but the position will be with the opposite color bishops. So maybe opponent Janik must have thought ki let's better to go in a opposite color bishop endings, even though he might be a pawn down, but he will have a good chance of holding the position, and he too will have a strong diagonal on the a1 h8 for his black square bishop. But I guess his calculation or the judgment was wrong. I'll tell you why it was wrong as and when we proceed to the next moves. So bishop d6, rook e8, bishop d5. Now suddenly the f7 pawn is really difficult for black to defend. So knight e5. The idea is what black is doing. Now practically if white want to capture the f7 pawn, he will have to take the knight on e5. Without that it's not possible. And after bishop into e5, which definitely Nihal went on with this, black cannot go with bishop into e5 because bishop into f7 check and black will lose the exchange. So rook into e5. Black must have thought okay, this is the opposite color bishop ending with just one pawn extra with white. So he thought he might hold the game. But the way Nihal executed the advantage, it's really amazing. Even after I was seeing the game, even after that I did get a chance to analyze myself. I personally was really happy with the way he executed the win. So rook into e5, bishop into f7 check, king h8, getting the rook at the open file, rook a d1. Here guys, when I was actually seeing the game, when I myself was thinking, analyzing the game, I was not sure whether I should say rook f d1 or rook a d1. Which rook to get on d1? I mean, looking at the game, and rook f d1 is also quite a decent option. Only thought which came to my mind was at any point of time when black moves the rook from e5 and captures the b2 pawn, white will have to, black will get an extra tempo when he captures the b2 pawn. So maybe that may be the reason that Nihal might have played rook a d1, just to avoid the future tempo in case black gets a chance to do that. Rook b8, and as well with rook a d1, Nihal can play b3 without any fear, because otherwise the bishop on f6 and rook on a1 would have created serious threats. Nihal immediately played b3, queen e7. Okay, so for queen e7, now the question is, black is able to regain the pawn on e2 because he's putting the pressure on the e2. So whether if we just play e3, then black will play rook e5, attacking the queen, queen d5. For e3, rook e4, queen d5, again rook e5. So whether we should go with this or we do have something interesting. What actually Nihal played is really interesting. With a permanent advantage, even though it's a opposite color bishops, the position is advantageous to white. Nihal went with bishop g6, giving back the extra for a time being, just maybe one or two moves. Bishop g6, rook into e2. Now, if you are a regular follower with Unacademy videos, then definitely you will find a move for white here. The overloaded piece, black's queen on e7 is overloaded. Okay, Anupriya, welcome Anupriya. You were asking rook d2, rook f d1. Yeah, that is also an interesting plan. Rook d2. Are you talking about without playing bishop g6? I assume it's without bishop g6, right? Instead of bishop g6, you're talking about rook d2 and rook f d1. Yes, that is an interesting plan. Okay, rook d7, taking back the pawn just after one move, queen into d7, queen into e2. Yes, Rajvinder, right. Welcome Manish. As you're for the first time, not to worry, I'll answer your questions after the game is over. Only the queries related to the game we can discuss right now. That will be easy for the flow of the analysis. So queen into e2, the interesting move bishop d4. Black is trying to put the pressure on the f2, getting the bishop at the strong square in the center. Bishop d3. The idea is queen e4 and the mate on the h7. The idea is queen to e4. Queen c6. Black, Igor immediately stopped the idea of queen e4. I think again Nihal played b1. Again he is trying to get the queen to d3. So maybe in fact instead of bishop d3 he could have thought of bishop b1 right away. That could have saved the one move. g6, bishop e4. Because now playing queen e4 doesn't make a sense right now. He will support the g6 pawn. Now there is no mating threat. Queen e6, king g2. Idea behind king g2 is that whenever black is going to attack on the e4 bishop, white should be able to play f3 and make a strong outpost for the bishop on e4, because e4 is threatening on the b1 h7 diagonal and h1 a8 diagonal as well. So king g2, rook e8. As discussed earlier, I had already told why king g2 has been played. It's simple. Whenever there's an additional attack on the e4, white should be able to play f3. So Prince Oreo asking me instead of queen e6, What about rook e8? Okay. I guess Prince, the same thing will happen. That's the interesting part when you have advantage. When you look at the position, white is having advantage, and the most important thing is black doesn't have a strong plan strategy. That's the main thing. White only will have a strong idea and strong plan. White can really follow some strategy, which unfortunately right now black cannot. Slowly, I guess Nihal will start pushing the H pawn and create a weakness. Particularly in second or third my YouTube class, I had mentioned you the advantage of making a second weakness. See, in the game of chess, particularly when a one weakness can be defended, if your opponent is having only one weakness, maybe he can defend the game and the game may end in a draw. But if we are able to create one more weakness, then that will be really good. Then it's really difficult. So let's see how Nihal is going to take the advantage of the better pawn structure. He's having 2 pawn islands, whereas opponent is having 3 pawn islands. Wow. Nihal's extra pawn on f3 and the king side will keep rolling now and create more weaknesses. Maybe he will open the h file as well to get the entry, because right now not even white or not even black is having the entry for the rook or the queen. Okay, so we'll see the game. Prince, yes, rightly said Prince. Only thing, the move order is changed. Perfect. So just now what we played is f3, king g7, rook d1. What may be the idea in rook d1? He's trying to pressurize the d4 bishop, maybe b4 at some point. That's possible. Pawn to b4. Keeping some threats and tricks in the game. Rook d1, rook d8. Black has supported the bishop so that no threats with the b5 will work. See, in case if he could have allowed b4, then white, Nihal, even can think of playing b5 and a4, a5 and create a passed pawn, because bishop on e4 will support the advance of the pawn. So it will be difficult for black to defend the extra pawn on both the wings, on a and b file or on the king side. So even that black should not allow. So immediately opponent played rook d8, queen b5. Wow, Unacademy, right move, good one. Queen e7, queen c4. I guess queen e7 should have been avoided. Now white is under absolute control of the all white squares. Many times, when I used to play the nationals, I had attended one national chess camp in Delhi. A Russian grandmaster was training the Indian team. It was in Jawaharlal Nehru Stadium. Particularly when you have one bishop and queen. So that moment, he told us some interesting ideas. He told us that it's better to place your queen on the other color of the bishop what you have. That should be your first choice. The point behind this is the squares which are not controlled by the bishop will be controlled by the queen. So this is a prima facie, you should look at it. Let's keep the queen on the other square, because that will get the control of remaining squares as well. But here, even though Nihal's queen bishop is on white square, he has taken the queen on the white square itself. Because I'll tell you why. Because there's big difference in the position. There are one queen and one rook available on the board. That's the major pieces. The major pieces would be dangerous strong if they have open file. Not even white, not even black is having the open file. So the diagonals, the control of the diagonal will play an important role. So taking the absolute control of the white squares is a good idea, and I think that maybe that was the reason black should not have played queen to e7. Okay, so queen e7, queen c4. Just to tell you in what time control it was being played. The game was being played in a rapid format, so 15 and 5 seconds increment. So already we are on the move number 33. So the time must be counting now. Now both the players has to be very careful with the time element as well. Okay, so now Anupriya is saying b4. Are you telling me b4 without playing queen c4? Then I can just capture c into b5. I have that possibility. So queen c4, he played rook d6. Now white has created a strong weakness, one weakness on the queen side. White must create another weakness in the black's camp. And Nihal found the right way. I mean, fantastic idea. He started forcing his opponent to make some weakness on the other wing of the board. That's the king side. Okay, white played for rook d6, the h4 which we had already discussed about the idea that white will start advancing the king side pawns. Rook e6. A small trick is planning rook into e4. Black is planning rook into e4. He might get perpetuals. So Ashrita, if you play b4 right now, as I told, rook into e4 we must consider. Rook into e4 might be risky. So h4, rook e6, queen c2. For the time being, the e4 cannot be captured by black rook. g5, h into g5, h into g5. Okay, how should white continue? What may be the plan? Now only one file Nihal is able to open up, that's h file. Can anyone guess how Nihal must have increased the advantage what right now he is having? Very systematically he has increased the advantage. Can anyone suggest or share the plan of what he might have done? Or what you think, what should be played? Now even black is threatening to play g4. Okay, Anupriya says rook h1, Ashrita says rook h1. Perfect, rook h1. A simple idea is rook h7 and get the queen. So stopping g4 as well, threatening rook h7. A threat is stopping his opponent's threat. So rook h1, rook h6. If you are black, or if you're playing from black, so what may be the best resource for black if he want to get the game draw? If he wants to end the game in a draw, he's already one pawn down, but advantage for him is opposite color bishops. So the best way is if he's able to exchange rook and queen, it will be easy for him. So that will be an easy equality for him. So rook h1, rook h6. Now this position, in fact, maybe rooks on the board might have been little easier for black. He might have some chances, but with queen on the board, it's really tough. So for rook h6, Nihal played rook into h6. King into h6. Now is there any way that white can increase the advantage? Now whoever controls the h file, whoever gets the entry in the opponent's camp will have the advantage. Rook h6, king h6, queen d1 is getting the another major piece. Perfect, Anupriya, good one. Queen d1. Queen f7. Manish says f4. Manish, no, f4 would be really dicey for white. The reason behind this is black is definitely trying for a equality. He's looking after some perpetual checks if he can. The f4 would expose your own king on g2, and black will have a decent chances of a perpetual checks. Anupriya Ashrita says g4. Are you talking the g4 from white or black? Because both can play g4. Is it white's move or black's move? Ashrita, yes, I understood g4, but white's move or black's move? Even Anupriya. If you're thinking from white that white should play g4, then definitely it's a blunder. Because the only advantage white is having the extra pawn. If you play g4, it's next to impossible to create the passed pawn. Hi Rahul, welcome. So definitely not g4. And regarding f4, okay Anupriya, I hope Anupriya and Ashrita, you're clear with this. Because with g4, after g4, the f4, e5, d4, b4, all the squares will be under black's control. And now black need to just support the 3 pawns and it will be a draw. Manish, controlling h5 won't achieve anything till black is defending the g5 pawn. So for queen d1, queen f7, the game went on with rook queen h1 check. Queen h5 is not allowing the penetration of white queen. Can anyone suggest now how Nihal can get the entry for his queen in the enemy camp? Can anyone? Yes, Rahul, queen h1. That's a good move. See, if you play pawn to g4 and then queen to h1, particularly for pawn g4, what if black plays queen to f4? Let your queen come to h5. Black king will come to g7, f6, e5. Nothing will happen. d6. So getting the pawn on g4 is a positional blunder. Then the game will definitely end in a draw. Remember friends, you have the advantage because you have an extra pawn. But your g4 move will restrict the movement of the pawns. I don't think so it's worth allowing the exchange. As I told earlier, the best bait for black is go in a king and bishop ending. Yes, Rahul, this is a game played between and Igor Janik in the Poland against India versus Poland. So f4 and g4, don't consider the moves right now. Both the moves are bad for white. Unless first try to get the entry for your queen. Your major piece, that's queen, must enter in the enemy territory. What may be the best move? Nihal has achieved this move order, this combination, which is allowing him to get the queen in the opponent's camp. Yes, f4 is not a good move. Perfect. Ashita said the correct move, queen to f1. And queen on a6 is unstoppable. Suddenly black's pawns are vulnerable now. When we will go through the next couple of series of moves, you will realize how Nihal has taken the advantage of the 3 pawn islands, g5, a7 and c5. So queen f1. I think after this white is clearly winning. Positionally white is in a 1 position. g4. Black is trying to complicate the matters, nothing else. Let's see whether he is able to do it or not. Queen a6 check. King g7, the first pawn. Queen into a7. King f6. Okay, after this a few moves, of course, white Nihal must be following some plan. And of course, he followed the plan. But you might get a feeling that there are some checks are being repeated. So we should not forget that the game was played within 15 and 5. And we never know what time was remaining with Nihal. So many times in a better position, the strong players, without going in a threefold repetition issue, they many times repeat the similar checks and gain time. That's the main idea. To gain the time on the clock and a breathing time, and that, believe me, that puts additional pressure on your opponent. So for king f6, queen b6 check. King g7, queen c7 check. King f6, queen f4 check. King e7. Still, this position, Nihal is not going with the queen into g4. He didn't go with queen into g4 right now. He don't want to take that chance of oppositional bishop, because with keeping the queen on the board for few more moves would be stronger for him. Queen f4 check. King e7, queen c7 check. King f6, queen d6 check. King g7. The main problem is if he gets the king on the white square, the bishop will start attacking the king. The bishop will come in the action. Anupriya says a4. Yes, a4 and advancing the pawn is a good idea. I guess Nihal is just trying to improve all his pieces, trying to get the pieces at the best location. Because a4, a5, a6 is anyway black cannot avoid, cannot stop that. So that anyway plan is Nihal can continue at any point of time. I mean, for the personal opinion, you get your pieces at the best point. So it doesn't matter even if you have to play 4-5 extra moves. Because in the later stage, that will be useful. So king g7. Queen e7 check. King g8, queen e6 check. king f8. Now see the difference what he did. Now he capturing queen into g4. The same position he could have captured earlier also, but added advantage for white is the black king is far away. So that's what he achieved with this, keeping the black king as far as possible. Black decides to keep the queen because that's the only thing what he can do. His only hope for a draw is perpetual checks, and that's possible only if the queen is alive. So he played queen at 6. Okay, you guys, are you comfortable that, are you sure that you can understand that queen takes queen, pawn takes queen, will that give a comfortable win? If you don't think so, I can discuss few moves for sure. I guess yes, I guess you both, all of you looks comfortable. Nice to know. So queen at 6. So queen at 6. Okay, Akshay needs to discuss a little bit about this. Okay, Akshay. So particularly with oppositional bishop, yeah, Pratik, what Pratik is saying is right. That's the idea. With the opposite color bishops, the main thing is the more the rook pawn, the more the pass pawns are far away from each other, is advantageous for the player who is having a passed pawn. That's the main thing. So one pawn would be on A file and another on the G file, G4. So the simple idea is white will threaten, get the king after G5, G6, king F3, force the bishop to go back, and then get the king on the queen side. He will collect black bishop for one of the pawn, and with extra piece and few more pawns, it will be an easy win. The main worrying part for white would have been, I'm saying in this game it's not there. That's possible only if the wrong rook pawn. Like if the pass pawn would have been on H file, then it would have been difficult for him, because even if black loses the bishop, the only king on the wrong corner can save the game. Okay, so queen at 6. Queen f5 check. Now Nihal found a practically forced continuation to exchange the queens. Let's see how. King e7, 4. White is in the absolute control of the game. He doesn't have to really worry about anything. No threat from black. As I told earlier, in the whole game, practically Nihal did all the planning. Nihal followed a certain strategy. Opponent was really unable to do anything. He was helpless in the whole game. After getting the command control, after the opening and the middle game stage, Nihal executed it with a correct move order and with fantastic way. So f4. Queen a6. Queen h7 check. King f8. Queen f5 check. King e7. Now again, as I told you earlier, it's better to repeat a move twice sometimes, because you get at least 1 or 2 minutes. With the normal 1 hour 30, that 90 minutes time control, with every move you get 30 seconds. So that's quite a decent time what you earn. At this level, for the Super Grandmasters, even the 5 or 10 seconds is really matters a lot. I mean, they can really find the best combination or the calculation part, and they can execute it in that 10 seconds. So he must have gained the pawn some time by repeating the moves. So queen f5 check, king e7, queen g5 check, king f8. I think king f8 was, anyway, at some point it will be forcibly exchanged. Queen d8 check. The idea is to get the queen on b7 and exchange the queen. Once queens are off the board, Nihal is 3 pawns up. All 3 are passed pawn. So that will be an easy affair for him. So queen d8 check, king f7. Anyone with the move? Anyone would like to suggest the move? Queen c7 check, king f8. After king f8, I mean, if he doesn't play king f8, if he gets the king on the 6th rank, Nihal is having queen c6 check. Now what happens for king to f8? Can you find a forced way to exchange the queens? Can anyone? Yes, Akshay. Queen c7 is right. How white can exchange black queen by force with a couple of moves? Can anyone tell me that execution, the move order? Akshay says queen c7 is already on the queen c7 right now, Akshay. The queen c7 and black played king f8. Anupriya says queen b8 and b7. Anurag, Anupriya, yes, that's the one. Good. Queen b8 and queen c7 would exchange the queen. Queen b8 check, king e7, queen b7 check, queen into b7, bishop into b7. Now it's just a matter of technique. A couple of moves and the game will be over. I'll show you till end how the next few moves were carried out. Yes, Anupriya, Akshay, Anurag, all are right. Queen b8 check and queen b7. Perfect. So bishop into b7, king d6. He played king d6. Bishop a6, king e6, bishop c4 check. Anurag, oppositional bishop is generally draw. No, it's not a thumb rule. The chances are more in the oppositional bishop. Maybe we can put in this way. Every position, the idea and the characteristics is different. So here in this game, Nihal is just 3 pawn up, so it cannot be a draw, and that too, all the 3 are passed pawns. So here it's not possible. Even normally with the equal pawns and having same pawn islands, if there is no passed pawn, then there's a chance of that game may end in a draw. So this position, okay, but as a thumb rule, it's not that opposite color bishop will end in a draw. The chances are more because of the opposite color bishop. That's all. There's no rule that the game will end in a draw. Even the probability is not much higher. So bishop c4 check, king f6, a4, bishop c3, king f3, bishop e5. Okay, I think now let's suggest some moves and let's see how the white's advantage will increase. So anyone, what white should play right now? If you would have been white, what you would have played? For bishop a5, king f3. Ashrita, king is already on f3, I guess. It's already on the f3. King f3, king e4. Yes, king e4 is a good move. Perfect. King e4 or g4. Both will give the same result. g4, bishop b4 check. Okay, now I want to ask you something. White should advance g5 or f5? Which pawn you should advance first? You should play g5 check or f5. Okay, Ishan says g4. Akshay says g4. It's I guess we already did g4. Yeah, okay, good. I'm talking about after bishop b4. Now white should play g5 or f5. What he should play? Anyone with f5 idea? Anyone is thinking that white should play f5 right now? Okay, everyone says g5, 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 g5. Perfect. So nice. Yes, g5 must be played. Again, the same idea comes in. What I discussed earlier with the bishop, white is having a white square bishop. So white should place his white pawn should control the black squares so that the remaining squares can be controlled with the bishop. So g5 is correct, not f5. g5 check, king g7. Yes, Shivam, Akshay, Ashrita, everyone, Shan, good. g5 is correct. g5 check, king g7, king g4, Manish is saying bishop d3, bishop can control g6. I guess it's not necessary for the white to control the g6 with his bishop, because once we play king to g4 or e4, with f5 we can control. So no need to get the bishop on d3 to control the g6 square. Our pawn can do that job. Okay, so king g4, bishop d2. Black played bishop d2. The bishop d2 is normally played in few of the bishop and pawn endings. Normally the bishop should be kept behind the pawns. So even though anyway this position is totally different, that won't be applicable for that rule won't be applicable now because black is 3 pawns down. So that's, but still he's maintaining the same idea, just hoping to make that Nihal might make a mistake. but of course that's out of question. So bishop d2. What should white play now? What white should play now after bishop d2? f5. Yes, Ashrita says the correct move f5. Good. In fact, now Igor Janik resigned at this point after f5. If you want, we can definitely see some moves further, how the game would have continued. If you would like to see that, I can show you here now. Just let me know, any one of you like to go through. Yes, f5. I guess maybe a small lag. No? Yeah. f5 followed by h5 and g6. No, here black resigned. Nihal's opponent decided to sign the resignation, and Nihal won, and of course the team India won against Poland. After this match, when after a loss with 4-2 against Poland, we bounced back with 4.5, 1.5. So it was 1 each. So the game went in Armageddon, which Humpy brought the point to us. He won. Okay, so Anurag would like to go through a little bit on this further. Okay, so for f5, let's see if black plays bishop c3, f6 check, king g6. Yes, Anurag, I am continuing. So king g6. Now simple move, bishop d3 check. Only move king f7. Now can you help me to continue? Anurag, then the one more ADM and DK, okay, Edmund. Now let's continue with discussing the moves. If you can't find, I will be there to assist you. What white should play now? After bishop d3 check, king f7. Again, bishop c4 check would just best a move. He will again play king g6. Okay, king f5. No, Anupriya, king h5 is not a good move because you can't play g6 check because f6 pawn will be hanging. So king f5. Manish, king h5 or f5? No, it should be king f5. It has to be king f5. Play the strongest continuation. Hi for the long hi from Debanjan. Okay, king f5. Maybe you can play just continue bishop d2 or bishop d4. I'll play g6 check. King g8. Bishop c4 check. Now king f8. This is king f8, now g7 check, and the pawn will turn in a queen with g8. So, of course, opponent had resigned earlier. That's a different thing, but the game might have continued like this if he could have played few moves more. So this is the way Nihal won the game. A fantastic game from Nihal. Okay, g7. Yes, Akshay. Good. So, yeah, it's over. Okay, so guys, if by any chance if I missed out any questions, I think there was one question which was, somebody had asked me a question which was not related with the game. Let me see if I can look. Treat when. Okay, anyone having any question? Okay, Manish had asked me where can I get basic instructions. I'm here for the first time. Manish, in fact, the Unacademy team is not only with the advanced level, it's at the beginner level as well. You can just log in with the Unacademy site, get the subscription. You can mention the code, my code is Gokhale 12. You will get a discount till 5th of September if you register. There you will have all the basic videos as well, all the basic end game, middle game. I think all basic things you'll be able to understand from those videos. So just try that. I'm sure you'll be happy with it. Edmund, what is en-passant? You must be talking about en-passant. It's a special pawn move. It's not en-pass, it's en-passant. Thank you, Manish. Thank you for your appreciation. Thank you. Okay, guys. So I think it's time for us to move on. Hope you have enjoyed it. Very soon I'll be coming back with another video on the same platform. Hope to see you again. Until then, take care. Be at home. Stay safe. Okay, Akshay says if we try to move the pawn, yes, the result would have been same. Only the moves might have been little more. That's all, nothing else. It's basically the concerned player's choice whether to turn the A pawn in a queen or the G pawn in a queen. The result will be same.